So this is how to run a petty cash fund. So why do you need to know how a petty cash fund works? Well, first of all, probably on the exam. And second of all, when you're hired to work at a business, a lot of times your first jobs will be to do the petty cash fund and manage or do the bank reconciliations. So it's good to sort of refresh how to do those. Petty cash seems pretty easy. There's basically three things that happen. You have to set up the fund, you have to replenish it at the end of each month or 2 weeks or whatever time period is appropriate, and then at some point you may be running close to running out every week, so you may want to know how to increase the petty cash fund. So these journal entries seem really easy, but it's pretty amazing how consistently students mess them up. I have a 3-step process that I use that for replenishing the petty cash that you can get them right every single time. You don't have to do it my way, but you will get them right every time if you do, pretty much. Okay, so why you have a petty cash fund? Basically, most of the payments you make for a company are going to come out of the main checking account. That usually involves going through a voucher system where you have to get approvals and then make out the check and all of that. But there's little expenditures that come along that you just need the cash right away and you just pay for it. Say you've got a COD package that comes in, you may need to run out for office supplies on a sort of an emergency basis, and so most companies will have a small amount of cash on hand that they call petty cash, and it's just for circumstances where you don't want to have to go through the whole voucher or main check procedure to get cash. So usually your petty cash will be a drawer that locks or a little box that locks, and in the box you'd find some cash. You might find receipts for the cash that's gone out, and sometimes they throw postage stamps in there which have nothing to do with petty cash, but anyway. Okay, so there would be receipts. The receipt should be numbered. That's part of your documentation procedures. Okay, so how does cash get into the petty cash box? The petty cash custodian, internal controls, you have one person in charge that you can blame for whatever happens. That petty cash custodian gets a check from the main checking account, goes to the bank, cashes that check, gets the cash, puts it into the petty cash fund. Okay, so that's how it gets in there to begin with. Then what happens? All month, or I'll just take month as a time period, you have people coming in saying, oh, we need 20 bucks to go to the office supply store, we ran out of supplies, so 20 bucks goes out, and then a receipt comes back with the change, and maybe someone forgot their lunch, they need 10 bucks for lunch, this UPS truck comes and needs some cash for something that's come COD, and so at the end of the month, there'll be a lot less cash in the box, and there'll be a lot of receipts in the box explaining where that cash went. So we need journal entries to describe this activity. So your first journal entry, when the petty cash custodian goes to the bank, gets the cash, there would be a journal entry made to the petty cash fund for 100, assuming that's the amount of the fund, and it comes out of the main checking account for 100. So that's to establish or set up the petty cash account. Okay, so that's number one. That's fairly straightforward. Then you've got all during the month where the activity has happened and we need to record what has happened. So there's been a lot of cash going out, there's receipts, but no journal entries have been made for each of these minor little things that has happened. And so at the end of the month we have to make the journal entries that tell the company books where the cash went, and then we have to get the cash back up to its original amount. So we've got the situation, the petty cash custodian counts up the cash left, there's $25 remaining out of the 100. So right there we go, okay, so if there's 25 left, we know we need 75 to get it back up to 100. So if you make this journal entry first and go cash 75, then you'll get the right amount of cash that you need to get the cash back up to 100, okay? Then the custodian goes and sees, gathers up the receipts and makes the entry for each of them. So maybe the supplies expense was 40, someone forget their lunch for 10, and then delivery expense for 25, which totals 75. Okay, so that accomplishes, this journal entry accomplishes both goals. It puts the cash back, it gets the petty cash back up to 75. And notice this credit is to cash. That's where the cash came from. And the petty cash account doesn't change. The petty cash account looks just like this here until we either get rid of it or we increase it. So every month there's nothing involved in the replenishment journal entry to petty cash. It's all we get cash from the main checking to get petty cash back up to the 75, back up to the 100. Okay, so now what if you did all this and the debits were not equal to the credits? So instead of 25 left in the box at the end of the month, there was only 15. So your first step there would be, okay, how much cash do we need to get it back up to 100? Well, we need 85. 15 left, 85 gets it back to 100. So that's number one. Number two, you add up all the receipts, or you make the entries for all the receipts, and these are the same ones from above, except now your debits don't equal your credits. They're $10 off. And so that's where we use the cash over and short account. And that can be either a debit or a credit, depending on what you need to make the journal entry balance, okay? So here, what happens, this cash over and short is kind of a control account. And when it is over and short, it could mean that somebody has walked off with some of the money. It could mean that there was an addition, you know, the wrong amount was on a receipt. But it means there's something messed up there. As long as it's not a large amount of money, chances are it would be over 1 month and under the next, you know, for whatever reason. But if it got to be, you know, $50 each time, then you'd probably look into it and see, you know, what the petty cash custodian was, you know, where she was going for, where they were going for lunch, you know. Okay, so if you do this, you know, your basic three-step process, I outline that here. And then if you want to increase the petty cash account, that's the journal entry where, say, we're running too close, we're coming up to $90, $95 every month. Maybe we want to increase the fund to $150. It's already got $100 in that ledger account. So to increase it to $150, we only need 50 more, okay? And then when we go to replenish the next month, you have to remember that you're going up to 150. You're trying to get it back up to 150, not the original 100. Okay, so I'd recommend you try a few of the petty cash exercises. And as I say, this should be mostly review and just refresh your memory.